right, guys. Well, welcome back to the channel. Shocker, I got another dirt bike. The Husqvarna TE250 is gone. No more. Out of here. See you later. So, as you guys know, the bike before that, I'll do kind of double introduction here on this video. First, for those of you who already know me and you follow the channel regularly, you know I had a WR. I loved the bike. I got a TE250 Husqvarna and sold the WR, and like an idiot, I've been regretting it since, kind of. So to kind of make up for the regret, well, I still can. Sold the Husky, took a loss obviously, but sometimes you gotta do that to correct your mistakes. And I bought another WR. This time around, however, this is a WR 450. So the last one I had was the WR 250. This is the 450. And I'm gonna go through the bike, do a full walk around, talk about it. For those of you who are watching from overseas, from Europe or Australia, this is the US version. So it's a lot different than the bike you're gonna see on some other videos, you know, overseas. Overseas, they have some different options. The bikes are set up a little bit different than the US version. So this is gonna be specific to US models. So I will start by apologizing for those of you who were here for the Husqvarna content, although probably not many of you, because the Husqvarna videos didn't do that well on the channel. So for whatever reason, you guys weren't that interested in that stuff. WR videos did terrific, so that's not the reason I got it, but I wanted it to begin with. But it is a plus. So here we got another 2025 model. 2026 WRs, if you're looking for one, are gonna be shipping from Yamaha in September. YZs have already shipped 2026s. This month here in August, my dealer actually had some 2026 YZs. But if you're looking for WR, they're gonna start shipping in September. If you can find yourself a leftover 25 still, there's no changes to the 26 models. The only difference is gonna be the color of the graphics is a little different. And they changed the fork guards to match the bright Yamaha blue rather than the dark blue. That's the only change for 2026 that I'm aware of. Nothing significant. So just like the last one I'm gonna do all the same mods. If you guys seen my 250F videos, you know I put a lowering link on it because I'm short as hell. And these Yamahas, all the Japanese bikes are really, really tall. So I have a very hard time touching the ground. And so I put the lowering link on my 250. It was awesome, handled great, 0 negatives, all positives. So I still have that. I'm gonna install it here on this bike. And I got some other goodies for the bike coming. Same thing I did with the 250F. We'll save all that stuff for a future video. But one of the big things is uncorking the bike, right? So you've heard about WRs and need to be uncorked. And they have usually a throttle stop screw, a big like restrictor in the air box. And I left it in this time in the 250 video. I took it out first, but I just brought the bike home. See that little, look at that. You can't even stick your pinky in there. That tiny little restrictor in the pipe. So we're gonna pull that out. It's very simple. You take 4 Allen heads, just the Allen head screws there. You take those out, leave the rivets. Pull the cap off, and then you'll see where the pea shooter is riveted into the tailpipe. There's a tiny rivet on each side. You just drill out the heads of those rivets. You pull this out with a pair of needle nose. And you still have the spark arrestor. It's still in here. You can take that out too if you want, but there's no reason to take that out. So just to get out that pea shooter. So we'll do that here after the video is over. That's what I'll be doing. I was also gonna take out the throttle stop screw because typically the WRs come where the throttle, you can't fully turn it. You get about 30%. And on mine, I was unloading it from the truck and I realized I got full throttle. I'm like, what's going on here? So doing a little digging, I went down there on the throttle body, and all the way up there, right here, is where the screw would be, the throttle stop screw. So I popped the cover off of the throttle cable housing on the throttle body there, and I took a peek in there, and the screw's already been replaced with a shorter one, so there is no stop in mine for some reason. I don't know if the dealer did it themselves on the PDI process, or this is a late year model WR. Maybe that's just how they're coming now from Yamaha. I have no idea. I don't have an answer for that for you, because my other, my 250 WR was a 25, and everybody who I've seen and read, I've never seen anybody get one unless the dealer did it, and that throttle stop screws have been taken out. So it is on this one. It's a different screw in there. So that's fine. That's fine with me. So the one less thing I got to do. All right, guys, here's a little something I found after I finished the video I wanted to inject here. The throttle stop screw. There it is. This is what the throttle stop screw looks like. See that unthreaded part? That's the part you would typically cut off. Apparently, my dealer replaced it, or Yamaha sent it that way with a different screw in it already. So I found it in the, I pulled the owner's manual out and it was in the bag here, taped up. So it was just in there for me, like as if I would want to put that back in. But yeah, so I don't know if the dealer did it or if it shipped that way or what. I'm assuming the dealer did it, but that is that. And then I took the little pee-pee shooter out of the exhaust. So in case you guys are wondering, that's that. It comes right out. It goes in there like that. And then there's two, you'll see the holes there. There's rivets, one on each side. Just drill out the heads quick, punch the rivets through and pull this out with some needle nose. See it, you'll see the size difference. I mean, it's crazy. So that's that. You just take the cover off, cap, four Allens, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do not touch those rivets. Those are for taking the whole canister apart, which you do not need to do ever. Just take the 4 Allen heads. That's it. So, and I'm going to leave the air box restrictor in this one for now. I'll probably pull it out eventually, but just for now, because I want to get used to the power of a 450. If that tames it down a little bit, then all the better. I'll ride it for a little bit with it in. If I feel like I need to take it out, I'll take it out. I will take it out at some point, but I want to get used to the bike with it in. Just kind of keep the power tamed down just a tad bit, because I've never had a 450. And these are obviously tuned a lot tamer than the YZ version. If you get the competition ECU, which you can get for this, it's only $199. You don't need anything else. 24 and the 24, 20 and up 450 WRs already come with the communications unit, the CCU. You don't need to buy that anymore. It already comes with it, so you can connect the app and all that stuff. You just need the competition ECU. And that's only $199 part. And then you can completely tune the bike on your smartphone. As of right now, you can connect to the bike on your smartphone with the CCU installed and the base computer, and you can only alter the, you can get all your readings, your maintenance logs, all that stuff, and you can change the traction control settings. That's all you can do right now. Once I get the competition ECU, we can completely tune the bike, and at that point is probably when I'll take the throttle, the air restrictor out, because what I want to do is ultimately, I want to put an FMF silencer on it, the Q4, the spark arrestor one, and then I'll get the competition ECU, and then with that, you can actually completely detune the bike as well as hop the bike up. So the tunes that come on that make it like a YZ FX, 450 FX. And what you can do is it's very simple. There's other YouTube videos, people just show you how to do that. But you can completely detune the bike, put it on like a tame mode, tame map, and it'll make it almost like a 350 4-stroke power level. So I think that'll be perfect, because you have all the torque there of the 450 and all that grunt, and you won't have that real nasty whiskey throttle hit, you know what I mean, with the big bore 450. Also, from a reliability standpoint, tuning it that way makes the bike run a lot richer, and that's just only better for the motor in the long run. When you lean it out and make it faster, obviously, the leaner it is, hotter it runs, richer it is, the cooler it runs. So that's always better for the bike. If this is anything like the 250, where I never did the competition ECU on that, honestly, the bike ran flawless with the stock maps. If I have such luck with this bike, that it runs so good and the power's enough for me, I'm sure it will be more than enough for me, because the 250 was plenty. But if it's really, manageable power, and it performs the same way the 250 did, in the sense of not performance, but obviously it's gonna have significantly more horsepower than the 250, but in terms of like flame out. My WR 250 had 0 flame outs. Like you almost couldn't flame that bike out. I would like grunt it down low second gear and pick my way through stuff in second gear on that bike, and it would not flame out. I don't think I ever had a flame out on that bike the whole time. In 35 hours I had it. I did stall it a couple times. That's just me riding, my riding technique, but never had an actual flame out on the bike. Never just flamed out on me, you know, going slow and just cut out. Never had that. The mapping was flawless. So if there's anything like that, I might not even need the competition ECU. I don't know. But I do want to do an FMF silencer. So when I do that, probably good to get the competition ECU just to richen things up a bit when we do that. Give you a little walk around on the bike, talk about some of the other details if you're not familiar with WRs. A lot of this is going to be a little bit redundant. It's the same as my 250 video. But what's great about the Yamahas, what I think is great anyway, is they give you a lot of bells and whistles that come standard on the bike. The WRs particularly. So you get a radiator fan already. That's awesome. Everybody knows 4-strokes run a little hotter than 2-strokes do, and you don't have to add that. It comes with a radiator fan on the WRs. That's awesome. You get a small plastic rotor guard in the back. Obviously, it's not, you know, heavy duty, crazy one. Same thing with the caliper, but it's something. They give you something to get you out there and you know, small hits and limbs, trees, you know, even small rocks. That'll do just fine. My 250, it took a couple hits on the stock one and honestly held up really well. So down the road, we'll do a nice heavy duty billet one or what have you. But nice blue accents on the motor, the valve cover there, and same thing on the other side with the plugs on the stator cover. Nice blue anodizing. Really nice looking bike. Graphics are embedded inset into the plastic, so you don't have to worry about the graphics peeling or anything coming off. Only 2 decals we got to take off this bike is the warning label on the back, little hair dryer action, take that, and the premium unleaded on the front fender. KYB suspension, obviously. This is going to be a little stiffer than your KTM Husqvarna headlight bikes. They are significantly softer, but if you do a lot of fast riding, this suspension is going to perform a little better probably for you. So the my 250, man, I used to be able to blast over the roughest terrain, and that suspension would just eat everything up. When it gets a little bit when you feel where it's a little stiff is when you're really going, like, say under 10 miles an hour over some rough stuff, hitting big rocks and stuff like that. You know, really going slow, like kind of slow enduro situations. But I'm not doing a ton of that. I tested my luck a little bit with the Husqvarna when I had it, and that's what that bike was designed for. And quite honestly, I didn't feel comfortable or enjoy myself doing it. I just, you know, I want to do some nice flowy, stick with the flowy trails. A little bit technical is fine, but I'm never going to want to do like the really gnarly hard enduro stuff. So this bike suits my needs for out here in the desert. You know, 95% of my riding, spot on. So I do a lot of long rides too. If you guys seen some of my previous videos on the 250 WR, I did some 57, 60 mile rides I had on the channel. Like kind of exploratory in nature, just get out there solo, go for a long ride, see where this trail goes, see where that trail goes, things like that. And this bike's perfect for that. The skid plate that comes on these things, honestly, are really good. They protect your coolant line, all that stuff. I know everybody, first thing to do is replace their skid plates, but I'll be honest with you. This thing took a beating on my 250. Had never an issue. It's a pliable, thick plastic. It's not a brittle plastic, and so it really, things just, big rocks and stuff like that, just kind of bounce right off it. You don't have a linkage guard, but you could always add that. I see some of the aftermarket skid plates, and they don't have the coverage here for your water pump and your coolant lines. So I don't understand, you're defeating the purpose of replacing your skid plate, because now you're making things that are vulnerable. So I don't really like the idea of that. I like this stock skid plate. We'll keep that. I'll probably do a linkage guard on it. Get the nice sight glass with the Japanese bikes to check your oil. I like that. You don't got to worry about a dipstick and all that stuff. Just stand the bike up level, check your oil level, and you're golden. One thing different I noticed, just from a visual standpoint, if you look at the bike, it looks identical to the 250. There's really, you know, chassis, all that stuff is the same. Obviously it says 450, but the clutch cover is different. I noticed that right away. I noticed it in a couple of videos, but I wasn't sure if it was because it's like the bikes were from Australia and UK in a couple of the videos I was watching, which is another thing. There's like hardly any videos with WR content for some reason in the US. I don't know why. I found that when I had my 250 WR, that I think that's the reason why those videos did so well, is because there's nobody in the US with US models making video content on it for some reason. Everybody's got KTMs and Husqvarnas and all that stuff. But so anyway, go back to what I was saying. I go off on a tangent a little bit. I do the weave, you know what I mean? Clutch cover's got like this stippling design on it. That's different than the 250. Didn't have that, a different clutch cover. Other than that, visually, you know, if you didn't see the 450 on the fender, you would think you would be able to tell the difference between this and the 250 model. It's got the nice blue XL wheels. Really nice rims. And they hold up really well. I didn't have a single chip, nick, anything, or issues with the finish on my WR 250 that I had. And I had 35 hours on that bike. One other change though from this, which I picked up on from looking at the specs on the website. I was looking at some things last night on the Yamaha website. And the 450 comes with a 120 tire. So they all come with the MX-33s in the US, which is a really nice tire, really deep tread. Honestly, I had no problems with the MX-33 out here in the desert on my 250. But the 450 here comes with a 120/90 18 rear. The 250 had a 110/100 18. So I'm not sure, maybe because the 450, they give you a little bit wider tire, a little bit more traction. That's the thought process. I'm not really sure if any of you know. You can leave a comment and let me know. I'd be curious if there's any truth to the traction issue, and that's why they went with a little bit wider tire on the 450, but that is something that's different. Everything else, I haven't noticed anything different other than the fact that I don't have the throttle stop screw in this one, but everything else looks exactly the same. Fuel, it's 2-gallon tank. Air filter on these new ones, 24s and up, is under here. Just pop this off. There's no more snorkel through the front. The front end is a lot narrower than the previous models, previous to 2024 450s. You had the air box was completely different design. You had like the snorkels that came in with the fairings and came into the air box. Now it pulls the air from back here, from under your seat. And I'll pop this off and show you this, the air box. So there's your air filter. Underneath that thing is going to be your snorkel like restrictor. But it's a 2-second job. Pop that air filter out and then literally grab that snorkel thing and pull it right out. It's just an airbox restrictor in there. So fuel's 2 gallons again, right here under the seat. It's a little bit of an interesting design that Yamaha has that others don't have it in a seat like that. And the reason for that is they keep the fuel. They keep the fuel. You see, I'm doing this all at one hand, so it's not really hard. They keep the fuel really tank centered and low as they can. And that's why these things handle so well, is because the weight is very low on the bike. Center of gravity is great. Balance front to rear is really good because of the way they design them. You know, the reverse head where the exhaust comes out the back and wraps around and goes out. Really interesting stuff, unique to Yamaha's than other manufacturers are doing. I would like to see them put a LED headlight bulb in these things. I don't know why they're still giving you halogen bulbs. It's not bad, the lighting. It wasn't bad on my 250, but I can either replace that bulb with an LED bulb, which I probably may do. Or there's companies that actually sell in a complete different headlight that swap out with these I've seen, which gives you a daytime running light, high beam, low beam, everything. So with the Yamahas, you don't get the opportunity to turn your lights on or off. They're just always on. So one thing I love with the WRs, which you don't get with the if you get an FX or something, is you have the gauge cluster. And we'll wake the bike up here and show you. So with the gauge cluster, you have your odometer, you see 0 miles on it. And then you have trip, 0.3, 0.3, your clock, and then timer. So if you're doing like hot laps and you want a timer, you can set it, turn it on in your app, and then you can activate it with the map switch. And then if you're doing, time your laps. And then you have, that's how much fuel you've used. So when you fill up the bike, you reset this, press and hold to reset it. It'll go to 0. That'll tell you how much fuel you've consumed. So if you know you have a 2-gallon tank and it says you've used 0.9 gallons, then you know you have about 1.1 gallons left. And I can tell you, if it's anything like the 250 was, that's dead on accurate. My 250, if it said I used a gallon, I would fill it up. It would take exactly a gallon. Like if it said I used a half a gallon, it would take a half a gallon. Like it was extremely accurate. So that's really nice considering you can't see your fuel tank. And then to gauge cluster off, if you press and hold the off button, it'll power down the bike so you don't have to leave it and worry about killing your battery. It'll go off on its own, I think, in about 2 minutes. So just so you're aware, if you shut the bike down, you're on a ride, it's gonna, if you just tap the button, it'll turn the bike off. You press and hold it. If you press and hold it, it will, I just jumped there. I don't see, you guys seen that gigantic bug that just flew in. Scared the hell out of me. But if you press and hold it, it'll shut that down for you. And to communicate from your phone to the bike, you just need to wake the bike up. If that gauge cluster is showing numbers, then you know the ECU is walking up and you can communicate with your CCU with the bike. In there, you can also you'll find your engine hours, so you don't need an hour meter, all that stuff, because you can get that information right on your phone, connecting to the CCU, and you can log your maintenance, all that stuff. It's really, really nice. And also, if you want to have really fancy gauges and you set your phone up on your handlebars, it will. There's a screen on the app when it's connected to the bike that's has tachometer, all the information, your trip, all that stuff right there on the screen of your phone, kind of like a stock Varg, and you can mount your phone there if you choose to do that and have all that information like a fancy gauge cluster almost. So that's pretty cool. I've never used it. What's there was fine, speedometer and all that stuff. But if you want to see your tach and see certain vitals, you can do that, set that up that way. So that is pretty cool. Give you guys some nice angles of the bike. It's killer looking bike, man. I mean, you can't say enough good things about how good looking. The lighting's not great here, but how good looking these Yamahas are. There you go. This is a really, really good looking bike with the blue wheels. I just love Yamaha blue. That's actually one thing I have a lot of Yamahas in the garage. I have a Raptor 350 and a Raptor 700, and I had a Yamaha blue 2020 Raptor previous to that one. I wish I still had, because I just love the Yamaha blue. I think it looks killer. But yeah, that's the new bike. So there's gonna be a lot of content on this bike. This bike's gonna be here to stay. I know you guys are already placing bets when this thing's going, but I can promise you, and I will place wagers myself with you, this bike is not going anywhere. This bike's staying here for the long haul. I should have, and the reason I know that, and I'm confident to say that, is I regretted selling my other WR, so that's why this one's here. So just to get back on that. So that is it with this. I think we pretty much covered almost everything. At this point, most of the changes to the WR took place in 2024, with this being late 2025, 2026 coming soon. Most of you guys probably know a lot about this stuff already. Hand clickers on the forks. Okay, so you got that. You still got to use screwdriver and a wrench on the shock in the back, and a flathead on the rebound on the bottom of the forks, but the hand clickers on the top if you want to fiddle with your compression while you're on the trail. Soften it up, stiffen it up, whatever you want to do with that. So that's nice and convenient. In terms of future mods, I got some things coming for it, and I have a few things here that we'll do. I have the license plate. They're just items from the WR I had. So I had the lowering link, and then on the other one, you guys remember I have my license plate back here, and there's a plate that replaces the bottom cover on the LED taillight. And that comes out kind of like the KTM enduro bikes do, where you have a place here. It's almost like a mud flap, but it comes down a little bit and you can mount your license plate on it. That's what it's for. So we're gonna install that. And then I got some hand guards, grips, and I got a G2 throttle tamer coming for it. And ODI road grips, I just mentioned that. That is pretty much it for now. That'll be, oh, and then we got the frame guards. I got the Acerbis frame guards coming. So I'll do a video installing all that stuff, or showing you the bike after it's all installed, kind of go over everything I did to it. We'll do some rides on it. I'm gonna get it broken in. My plan is, it's Thursday here. I just picked it up today. I'm gonna get it broken in tomorrow. I'm gonna put an hour runtime on it, do the first oil change. That's how you break these in. And then we'll take you guys out with me. We'll do a ride review, first rider impressions, full video, kind of like I do with my 250F. And we'll go over the bike, talk about it, how it feels, how it handles, characteristics, initial impressions kind of thing. I'll do that together with you guys. And yeah, that's about it. If there's anything else you want to know about the bike, anything else you want to see on the channel with the bike, you have any questions about it, things you like, suggestions you have for me to do to it. I want to probably change the seat. I did that on my other one. On the other bike, on the 250, I did a Guts Racing soft foam seat. These seats are hard as a rock. And I already know I'm gonna get 2-3 comments here on this video, just me saying that. You're supposed to be standing. Yes, I get it. But I don't stand 100% of the time. There are times on the trail where you're sitting and your rear end, unless you got a big rear, I do not. I'm a skinny guy. Is my tailbone is killing me on the stock seat. You know, for if you're sitting on it, going down dirt roads, long trails, you know, you want to have a little comfort. And so probably the only downside of that is I do like the way the stock seat looks with says Yamaha on it. That's the bummer. I went with the Guts one on the last one. I was thinking about C Concepts. I think that's the name of the company, C Concepts, with the low, wider seat for some added comfort. But they're a little pricey. They're well over $340, something like that. You can get a Guts seat for $225. So I don't know. I may go back to the Guts. I was happy with that one, but the C Concepts is possibility too. We're gonna wait on that. That's really the most expensive mod I need to do to the bike. So we'll hold off on that. Get all the little stuff done first. And that and the ECU, which is $199. So those are the 2 big ticket items. And the muffler. I really want to do an FMF muffler on this bike. I looked into the Yoshimura. I was looking this morning before I went and got this to see if they offer a slip-on, and they do not for some reason. So Yoshimura, if you're listening to this video, which I doubt you are, but if anybody knows anybody from Yoshimura, tell them to make a slip-on for these. It would be the same thing as the slip-on for the YZ, and they don't make one for that either. They only make a full system for the YZ, which I don't want a full system. I just want a slip-on. And so we'll go with the FMF. FMF has 4 or 5 different slip-ons for the bike. They have a competition one. They have the Q4, which is going to keep it as quiet as possible and still have a spark arrestor and keep you legal, which is what I want. So we'll probably go with that one. So yeah, I wish, I don't know of anybody else that makes them. If you guys know, it would be the same as a YZ. So it would fit the same, because the YZF, the 450F, and the same thing with the 250s. The YZF, the YZFX, and the WR are the same chassis pretty much. The YZF motocross bikes get the chassis updates, and then a couple years later, the FX and the WRs, it trickles down to those. In that kind of, first they put them on, they change the motocross bikes, and then they always trickle down though to these models. So they end up being the same bike for a few years. And so the chassis, the motors are the same, all that stuff. Obviously the transmissions are different. This is a wide ratio 5-speed. 250s get a 6-speed. That's another thing I should have mentioned before. You get a 5-speed on the 450. I don't know what the reason for that is. If it's to save a little weight because the 450 motor is a little heavier than the 250. I'm not sure what the reasoning is, but it is a wide ratio 5-speed. I'll be interested to see how the characteristics are of that transmission. From what I've seen, the first gear is really, really low, almost like a crawler gear. and then second, third are close, kind of. And then you have fourth, and fifth is like really tall. So really spread out. So that's where you get the wide ratio from. That's how they do it here with the WRs on the 450s. So fifth gear is going to be like, you know, you click it up, you're cruising down a dirt road, connector trail, you know, cruising at 50 or something like that on the road maybe. Which here this bike will be street legal. So I can dual sport it if I want to. I just got to throw a mirror on it. And that's it. I just got to put a mirror on it. So, and a horn technically. So that is it, guys. I will quit rambling. The video has been about a half hour already. I'm sure you guys are sick of hearing me talk. So stay tuned for the future videos for WR450. We'll get some mods put on the bike, show you that, and then we'll take you out on a, you know, initial reactions, initial thoughts of the bike, so to speak, and ride review. So that's it. It's Joe at Odyssey Off-Road. Stay tuned for more. Smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. And hit the thumbs up button if you liked it. Leave a comment below. Any question you got about the bike, I'd be more than happy to try to answer for you if I have the information. If not, I'll still try to help you out best I can. And we'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching, and catch you out on the trail.